and welcome to my podcast, Soul Expansion and Inspiration. This is Series 3, Episode 10, and my name is Allie O'Shea. I'd like to give a very warm welcome to my guest, Sarupa Shah, today. Hello, Sarupa.
Hi, Allie. It's so good to be here. I'm like grinning. I'm so excited.
Oh, I'm so delighted that you're here. So thank you so much for coming. I know you're very busy.
Aren't we all?
I know.
I'll tell you what's really scaring me is it's about to get dark. So that's doing videos when it's getting dark.
Yes, for the listeners, it's 20 past 3 here in Ireland, and with Sarupa in the UK, it's also 20 past 3. And because of our clocks changing and the time of year, it's like literally getting dark.
I know. Give me when it's back to the other end of the year. Doing videos is a breeze. You can do one at 9 o'clock at night, and it can be light.
I know, it's crazy.
I know,
crazy. But so just to introduce you, Sarupa is a financial well-being expert, money and business mentor, and a writer. She's also an abundance and expert columnist at Spirit and Destiny magazine. Sarupa has also been featured in the Telegraph financial pages as a money coach. Oh, it's so exciting to have you here. So, I mean, that is all incredible, but I'd like to go back, if we could, Sarupa, to your childhood a little bit. And I know that as a child, quite frequently you saw spirit, and you were also called the girl with magic hands. Do you want to tell us a little bit about all of that?
Yeah, I mean, for me, my earliest memories are not of, being taken to a theme park or a birthday party, are of seeing spirit. I used to go, like have my own room, or I would even share with my sister. She never saw them. And I used to get into, I didn't know what I called it. Now I know it's like a meditative kind of state, sort of like a trancey state. But I used to do this thing of when I couldn't sleep. So it's maybe that was spirit's way of saying, we're here, we're here. And I used to get into this sort of energy, and then they'd just appear at the end of my bed. And I never understood what they were saying. I just found it comforting. But I was part of a conversation that I wasn't part of. So it was obviously happening at different levels.
Yeah.
And then the other thing would be, if people had aches or pains, it would be, come and put your hands. Because it was a girl with magic hands. It would, headache. Somebody, an auntie would have a headache. Go and put your hand on them. And we didn't have the language of healer. It wasn't even culturally something that, that was well known in
our vocabulary.
I mean, they knew of it, I suppose, but there wasn't the language of all of this stuff has exploded more, over the years, as the new age kind of took over, and not that I would ever call myself a new ager, but that's probably a different conversation. But the language of even manifestation and all these things now has become more mainstream. So it used to be, but then of course when I got back into when I decided to go to sort of spiritual workshops and meditation things and things like that, sort of in my sort of late teens and early 20s, I was looking for my purpose, but I would always say, I'm never going to be a healer. I never wanted to be just a healer. So I was almost rejecting the girl with magic hands. I was also called the Lucky Devil. That was my dad's nickname for me, from one of my dad's many nicknames. He used to call, when he first saw me, my mum always says, he called me his grandmother's name. And from the work that I've done, she was the one that in a village in India used to give spiritual business advice back in the day. So that would have been even the sort of early 1900 something. We call that the 20th century, don't we? I get so confused. Because her husband had died early, and it was unusual then for an Indian woman to be giving that business advice. So it was from her that I've got that intuitive, it's from my dad's line.
Yes.
But he used to call me the Lucky Devil, because I used to, and I took it on as a kid would, like, I'm the Lucky Devil. My brother and sister didn't like it. So I always landed on my feet financially. I had this thing with money, all along.
Okay.
But I didn't know then that I was going to develop into looking at the energy of money and all the stuff that I do.
Wow, that's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Honestly, that's like, I remember as a child, it's a little bit similar. My godmother used to like put her hands on us, but like I didn't know what she was doing back then, that kind of
No, we
way.
don't.
Yeah. So it's like what you say, going back, we didn't really have the language or the terminology or the vocabulary for it. But now, more in this sort of awakening age, in inverted commas, we are so much more open to that language and
We
knowing.
are. I also think there's always a shadow to something, but like when I'm talking to people, there's a lot of people that are skeptical, doubtful, or just completely think this is absolute nonsense. What do you mean you use a crystal? Or what do you and sometimes I just go, yeah, you're right, because I think like you gauge a situation, and sometimes you think I'm not going to defend myself, but I'm going to explain why I believe in it, or what because there's a naturalness to it. If you think about when a child hurts himself, they'll rub.
Yeah,
it's a transfer of energy. When we hug, it's a transfer of energy, and sometimes giving it a label can be a barrier. And when we develop a whole body of work around the term healing, and I think that's what I had. I was judging the word healing, and then ironically, I started to do my money when I actually came out as a spiritual person talking about money. I mean, I thought the universe was going to come crashing down on me, for being so materialistic, and it wasn't. It's not about the materialism, it's about the energy. But I called it money healing. I coined that phrase, and I realized that I'm a healer, and I had to embrace it. And it took me even when I coined the phrase, it took me a while, because there was this connotation of, there were things in the press always, and there still is, about people that are charlatans. And my argument again to that would be, you get them in every industry,
absolutely.
Bathroom fitters. Yeah. Some are going to be good. Some have got no idea what they're doing. They're going to take your money, damage the rest of your house, and run. Exactly. It's no different. It's got no higher proportion of charlatans than any other industry whatsoever. Yeah. But yeah, it's a great term for what I do, healer, actually, and I am proud to be one.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for that. You used to have a limiting belief that money wasn't spiritual, which you just talked about.
Oh, yeah.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about how you actually overcame that for yourself?
I would, first of all, I'm still overcoming it, because I hit another layer of it. And funnily enough, this woman last week, I've been doing some work with some cards that I've created, and she got the affirmation of money spiritual. She said, well, I didn't think I had a problem with it. And it's like, well, yeah, you don't have to think that you've got a problem with something. That's the whole point. If you've got a limiting belief, your mind's not going to go, oh, by the way, what you're thinking is limiting. It's not going to be that kind, actually, because it's going to try and hide it all. So for me, when it started, because I had two lives. I had my spiritual life and I had my working life, and never the twain met. Friends, everything, it was just like separate.
Right.
I would never, with someone at work said to me, what you're doing at the weekend, and I was going to some workshop or running a workshop, I'd never say, oh, nothing.
Really?
Nothing. Oh gosh, no. And if my friends used to come to my house, I'd clear away every single crystal, every vision board, until one day I just thought, I've had enough. Like because I remember I was sat on my stairs, and I saw I'd left a vision board that was up my stairs, and I almost wanted to do like this jumping dive to get it before my friends saw it, and I just thought, and you know what? When I stopped being bothered, they didn't even look.
Yeah.
And go, oh my God, what are you doing, you hippie or whatever, and I'm talking really in my early mid-20s. Nobody would be so impolite now. So, but when I came out with my money work, I still, despite the fact I'd accepted that I walk those two worlds, and I'm part of the world, the material and spiritual, I wasn't sure. And I didn't have anyone to talk to. I didn't really know. I was afraid to even bring it up with in my conversations with spirit, because I thought, you can't talk to them about money. It's man-made, believing this idea that it's man-made and blah, 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 blah. It's all a misunderstanding. So when in developing the work, or which I'd actually developed in 1999, but I'm fast forwarding to about 2008, I had to address it. You know, you can't teach from a place of having unaddressed stuff. You can't keep saying to people, do as I say, but not as I do, you know.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of us spiritual people, that's a hard one, because we might have the vision, the vagueness of a vision of how it could be, but until we embrace it and embody it, it's just academia, you know. You're not an inspiration in the truest of sense. So I started to address it, and it was uncomfortable, because when I used to like write in the first program I ever did about money, I used to almost be wanting to hide it from this universe in case it could see. I mean, it was comical looking back. I thought I'd hidden my notes under my dressing table, you know, like as if you can hide from the universe, you know.
Yeah.
But it took the first bit of everything that we know is of the acceptance that this was an issue. The acceptance that this was an issue that I could overcome, because in hiding it, I was trying to pretend it wasn't there, that it wasn't important, that there was something wrong with me, that you could bypass it, I could avoid it, you know, and you can't.
Yeah.
So I had to deal with it that way. So I did use practical things like affirmations, like having to literally knit together a new story, a new understanding. So that was the biggest chunk of when I first started to do the money work. Like, that was the biggest layers gone, and I thought I'd dealt with it. And then a few years, it was about 2 years ago, I hit another massive piece of it, which came from nowhere, you know. And I do money work, so, you know, people think, oh my God, you must be perfect. Absolutely no way, and I never want to be perfect. So I hit this massive thing from, like, it literally came from nowhere, where there was still judgment about, if I succeed, I will be judged.
Right.
So, and it was also coinciding with me narrowing what I believed or thought I should be doing, you know. So you start, the clues are in your shrinking, in the you know, backing away. Yeah. And that took a good few months of, like, first of all, where'd that come from? You know, where did that just suddenly blow up in my face from? And then having to address the fact that, wow, that is there, that is deep.
Yeah.
And the fact that it wasn't there when I did the first stuff, that means it's been running in the depths of the unconscious and subconscious for a really long time. But you know, the idea that I would be judged, that I wouldn't be accepted as being spiritual enough if I didn't struggle like everybody else.
Right. It's crazy, isn't it?
We're so complicated.
Yeah. And so when you say, Sarupa, that you used affirmations, do you mean that you were, you know, like a lot of people, reprogramming their subconscious mind at nighttime, maybe with your earphones in for 30 days? No?
No. I think I probably tried the headphone things. I probably read that somewhere, but that didn't work for me, and and I don't recommend it personally. And I tell you why is, I think that because people used to say, put a thing on the fridge, you know, post-it note with your affirmation on the fridge. But then I've been thinking, but the only time I'm at the fridge is when the door's open, so I never blooming see it. And I might walk past this post-it note on my board, you know, notice board or whatever, but we don't
look at it. Yeah.
Well, osmosis isn't where we are yet.
Yeah.
Things don't happen, you know. Yes, we've all probably got, and I certainly have, and I'm sure you have, examples of I think and therefore I am, you know, where it's almost instant, but that's because the conditions were right, you know. But just walking or having it as a screensaver, well, the screensaver on your laptop or PC or whatever only comes on when you've walked away from using it. And if you're using it, the screensaver's not on, so you don't sit there and stare at your screensaver of affirmations. So I again, in all of that as well, I started, in dealing with this issue of money not being spiritual, I was also looking at the stuff that was being taught by the New Age, and the new age kind of ran with the law of attraction. I kept being taught as well, like I just had this sense of there's so many more laws, what's going on, why is it only this one? It's out of context when it's just that one. And so I've always broken traditions and molds, and I just felt like you have to be really super conscious. And when you're super conscious, when I was super conscious saying my affirmation like in a mirror, or now we can use our phones as a selfie thing, you know, but looking at your eyes, that was when I could see myself. If I was drifting off, there's something I'm avoiding, because affirmations work as magic wands when you deal with the stuff that comes up.
Right.
They're not like elastoplast bandages. They're not band-aids to just make something better on their own. You've got to be super conscious, because if you're, when I would say money is spiritual, and my head would be going, no, it isn't. No way, you're about to be struck down by the universe. You've got to address it.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to find a way to
change your belief.
To change your belief, and thank the affirmation that it opened the door for you to say, oh, I keep saying this as soon as I say that affirmation, or I keep feeling this, and that feeling is incongruent with where I'm heading towards, right. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. He said to me during one of our conversations that the spiritual community has the most fearful, confused relationship with money.
Did I? It does.
And I would agree with you, but would you talk to us a little bit about that?
It does. And it's really, it knows about abundance. Virtually any Hay House book you can pick up talks about abundance. They know the academia, but spirituality, forget the new age. Spirituality has nothing to do with academia. It's not about being an information gatherer. It's not about saying verbatim. It's not an exam. Yeah. You're not doing a précis of the law of attraction, the law of manifestation, of what abundance is, what the universe is, and blah, 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 blah. It's not interested in what you've collected as information. It's how you apply it.
Practice, yeah.
Yeah, and the money stuff, it brings up anger, it brings up frustration, it brings up this sense of failure that gets then masked by the sense of I know it all. Then and it's just the confusion about money, and so much of it is, and there'll be different layers and different things, but so much of it begins with the unresolved energy of money isn't spiritual. But there is another bigger reason for this, is that's part of our collective consciousness to resolve. So the fact, for example, like the woman said to me last week, I didn't think I thought that. You know what? It's part of your collective consciousness. It's not an indictment on your personal failure to have a limiting belief. It's both within us and outside of us. It's, let's not take everything personally that we are limited by as signs of personal failure. This is, when we clear it in us, we clear it, it's within and without, it gets cleared, that little piece gets cleared in mass consciousness. But there is confusion about money. There's some of the confusion turns into I better overspend, I better not spend, I better hide the fact that I don't have a relationship with money, or I'm afraid of it, and I don't understand how the universe. I used to believe in abundance. I just didn't believe that the universe would ever be interested in money, or would be able to help me manifest money. People believe there's virtue in struggle. There's still all, there's still these undercurrents. If we don't address them, not only are we limiting ourselves, we are continuing to feed that energy through every healing, client, therapy, coaching, whatever we do, writing, whatever, that energy is going out into the world. It might not be what you're doing when you're doing your hands-on healing. It might not be what you're writing, but the energy of that is still being churned and perpetuated.
Yeah.
And for those that are listening, I'd say, it's an adventure, it's an exploration to say, well, okay, let me go in and see what it's like a lucky dip when we're doing money healing work. You go in and go, right, I'm going to address this bit now. Yeah. And then when you address that bit, you go back to your lucky dip and think, oh, good. quite a lot of it's gone because of that. And then you go in and take another piece, and it's an ongoing refinement to enlightenment, which will happen eventually for everyone, but we've got to go through the steps. It's not going to happen just because.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I so agree with you about that part that you said, that, you know, society as a general whole and as a collective really still believes that you have to struggle to make money.
Yeah. Or you have to work hard, you know. And so I've had clients who, you know, will swear on everything they can that I really want my business to work. I really want to fulfill my soul purpose. And it boils down to, they don't want to do the work, because underneath that is this idea that I don't want to work hard. But who said you had to work hard? You have to work, I just say you have to work soul smart. And when you're doing that, and I'm sure it's the same for you, it doesn't feel like work. Like, this doesn't feel like work.
No.
When I'm writing something, it doesn't feel like work. When I'm doing a session with a client, it doesn't feel like work. When I worked for somebody, and even then, that didn't always feel like work anyway, because I've always, you know, lucky devil, landed on my feet.
Yeah.
But I have been in jobs where you've just thought, I think I've got a stomach ache, I don't want to go in.
Yeah, it's a completely different energy, isn't it?
No, I was definitely Monday Club girl for a little while, you know. But it's a different energy. So there's all those things, scripts, and the reason they were in, and they were, before they became a limiting belief, there was a reason. Before they got entrenched and taken over by the mind, or before they became a fear by the emotions, they were put in place for a reason, and the reason was always good. The fear within that spirit, within the spiritual communities, this is where sometimes a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, because it's incomplete. It's the fear that it must mean, because this is what I used to believe, there must mean there's something wrong with me. The universe doesn't like me. I must have been so bad in previous lives that I'm actually the fraud that I think I might be. So it's the fear of fear itself that stops us growing and saying, actually, I could do with some help and some support here. Come on, guys, spirit. Come on, you know, Allie, can you help me with this? That is empowering. There's no shame.
Yeah. Beautiful. Perfect. I'd like to go back, Sarupa, to, you were talking about it there a little while ago, about when you started your money work in 1999, 2000-ish, and you channeled money writings, which, you know, were under your dresser, covering in dust for some years. And they were notes and processes that you had hidden away, that's to say, and you didn't take back out until 2008. Tell us the story about, because you channeled these through spirit, you wrote them out, you hid them away, they got covered in dust over the years. And
when I mean dust, I mean
thick dust.
I'm embarrassed, but I'm going to say it was thick dust. Yeah, it was literally like, oh my! I mean, I'm lucky I didn't just put them all in the bin.
Yeah,
it was that much dust.
But tell us what happened. So you took them out and you started reading them, going.
So, well, I remember when I channeled them, because I did a lot of, you know, that was where a lot of my spiritual development as a young adult took me to, you know, channeling. I was trance channeling and wrote so much. There's so much content. But I remember this particular body of work, and I thought, oh, that's amazing. Isn't that amazing? Put it straight away. You know, had no idea that there was anything I could do with it. I had no idea I was supposed to do anything with it. It was just like, oh, that's great. It's a bit out there, put it all away. And then I was beginning to leave that property I was selling. So I was part of the clearing up, really.
So you had to do some dusting.
Yeah, well, yeah, I had to sort of, you know, decide what was going to be kept and boxed and ready, because it was about house viewings and, you know, like the TV programs say, clear your house so the people can feel themselves in it. And like most things, most people will say, even when they're decluttering, the thing that takes the longest is when you're going through things like books and paperwork, you get caught into it, reading it again and transported back to this time a long time ago. And I was like, and I started using the work, and I realized I was using some of it anyway, sort of naturally, and I started using it, and I started to see really fast results. And it tapped me. I was sort of I'd been falling into a bit of a pit anyway. It was the kind of beginning of my almost, I don't know if I would call it breakdown so much. It was like a breakdown, but it was also the unfurling of myself. But I started to see things shifting, and I was a bit like, oh. And that's when I'd be looking over my shoulder thinking, I hope the universe didn't see that I just meditated to disconnect from the poverty grid. You know, maybe I'm supposed to be connected to it, and the universe is going to tell me off. You know, so it was all this. There was still this kind of ooh going on.
Right. Yeah.
But it made too much of a difference. It reconnected me to the lucky devil. It reconnected me to that whole sense of easy, you know. I've got an idea. I want this to work. And it would just be like bang, 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 bang. Things started to flow. And I just wanted to create a program to show people what I use, how I use it.
That's what you did with the work, is it?
Yeah.
You turned it into a program?
I turned it into a program. It launched in 2011. And interestingly, each week was based on an element. At that point, I hadn't really started working with the elements because I'd moved on from I'm not going to be a healer to I'm not going to work with nature, but give me potions. I love, you know, like I used to love making potions as a kid and still do. And, you know, but I'm not me and nature. No. I'm not an outdoorsy girl. I'm a city girl. And of course now my book's all about the elements within. That's what connects. When people say we're all connected, well, that's how we're connected to the elements. That's what connects us to the universe. That's how it's mirrored within us. And I started teaching all of that to people, and it was just phenomenal. And then about, again, 2 years ago, just as I hit my next depth of money not being spiritual, I knew I had to put that program to sleep. It's not gone. It's not buried. It's just gone to sleep because it was time for me to explore a few different things around money. And at the moment, I don't even know if it's ready to wake up, but I'm beginning to feel this sense of it's going to emerge. It will go through a tiny change, I'm sure, not massively, but I can feel a rumbling and a stirring of it calling me. But it's almost like it had to go in to kind of become more potent, you know, restore itself. And I had to move beyond that big thing that had hit me a couple of years ago, because it's that, you know, that. And since then, a lot of my personal journey has been about authenticity, not as a marketing word, but really in terms of what am I asking of people that might work with me that I'm not doing.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like, and it's not an easy question, you know, but it's been looking at, well, where am I? Where have I got complacent? Where am I? Because we get quite complacent where we've shrunk. We get quite you know, people will be very defensive of, oh, no, I can't afford things like that. Oh, no, I don't, you know, I don't go to places like that. And when you're not able to challenge people, or you just accept it, it sounds really plausible. Yeah, absolutely. Of course you can't. Of course you don't. You know, oh, no, we don't. We only do, you know, no, I'd never have a coach. I'd never pay to go on a retreat. No. I don't do things like that. And they've got they've got everything. So you have to kind of, and it's when you start to work with people and you catch them and you say, well, why? And then you get underneath, it's nothing to do with time. It's nothing to do with money. It's some energy that they're holding on to. And if you're limited in one place, you are everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, the program was born, the Heal Your Money Patterns program. But it will, yeah, maybe this time next year, you know, maybe summer it might, but I don't know. I'm not going to do crystal ball.
So when you say that, so all the things that you've gone through, that you've grown through on your own spiritual money healing journey, if as it were, that program, it's not obsolete, but there's things that you need to add to it and change and update to bring it back to people.
It's maybe not even necessarily add and remove. I don't know, but it was more. See, when people did that program, I always said to them, then they've got it for life, and I'd say, go and do it again anytime, because the first few years when I was teaching it in particular, I did the program as I was teaching it.
Yeah.
And it was just, every single time I'd be like, OMG, I've just hit another layer, I've just cleared another, there was just more and more and more and more and more. And I think what will change is not necessarily the particular exercises. I mean, admittedly, it could do with grammar checking and spell checking and things like that. And I always said to people, if you're if you're offended by bad grammar, you're going to be really offended by this program. So it's about the energy. But I think it's going to be more about the teaching, because a new teaching's been birthing, and that's a little bit like when I first channeled the program in 1999. It wasn't just the program. I didn't channel the program. It was this whole body of teaching around money and energy and poverty consciousness and things like that. It was out there if I'd have taken it out in 1999, and I feel like there's a new body of teaching that's coming through and birthing, that's again going to shake up perceptions, perspectives, the status quo. There isn't, people think, well, we know what there is to know. Even with the law of attraction, as you teach, there is so much more we know.
Yeah.
So, and when we're ready, it will come through. The universe will birth it and bring it through. And we are at the foothills of masses of energetic change. So and that also means that we have to let go of what we thought was the way.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, there's a different way.
Yeah. So it's not just about learning, it's about unlearning too.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that, when in my early days, I guess it's what is the divine joke, because you learn something and think, right, I've got that, and then so I only learned that to learn that wasn't the right way, because there's a better way. Be like, oh my gosh, this is all
there's so many
confusing.
Intricacies to it.
Yeah. I think the universe keeps us on our toes.
Yeah, and so it should. It makes life exciting.
Absolutely.
I saw this quote. I can't remember whether it was on your website or your page, and it says, "Money is the energy of love manifest into matter." Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that?
That was Spirit shared that with me.
I thought it was a lovely quote.
Yeah, Spirit shared that with me probably just before I picked up these dusty notes. So I'd already, and I remember, what? There are some things that we get that for whatever reason we don't understand them. We just can't get them. So it took me quite a while. And I'd sit there and ponder, money is the energy of love, and then I basically everything is energy, which we will say and know. But then when it comes to money, people will say, but it's man-made. No, every single thing is energy manifest into matter first. First it's energy, then it's matter. And it is basically the energy of love, which is why we have such similar things. If you think about romantic love, even though we're taught the quality of love really that it manifests is universal love, unconditional. But because most people operate at that emotional level, if you think about the kind of language we might use, or how we might feel if we've just met somebody new and we've spent the first weekend with them and then we're going home, and how you might be feeling that sort of excitement and wondering, does everybody know that I've just met someone? Because you feel like you're radiating this sort of inner glow, and you're kind of slightly embarrassed, slightly not, whatever it is. And people feel like that about money when they're spending. It's really intimate, it's private. Don't ask people what they earn. Don't ask them what debt. People might talk about their mortgage debt because there's a bit of a bravado of, well, I've got a 500k mortgage, because that must mean I'm earning so much, or I've got a 700k mortgage. But I don't want to tell anybody that I've got a 10k debt on my credit card, because that's shame. It's the shame, the guilt, I've shopped for something that I can't afford, and it's almost like the same illicitness as having been with somebody that perhaps you felt that you shouldn't have been with, or whatever. It's a really similar energy, because it's all about the same thing. It's all about our relationship with ourselves, and also with the money being love. As I've gone deeper and deeper into it, it's how we bring money into our lives is so linked to how we love ourselves and how we appreciate ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's beautiful. I love the quote. And I just want to talk a little bit, Sarupa, if we could, about the fact that you have created very recently some beautiful abundance oracle cards. Oh, they're so exciting. I love them. And you very kindly gave me a fantastic reading, which I wasn't expecting the last day that we spoke.
I did. And this is what I'm saying about new teaching. I thought I was writing my book at the end of last year. And I'm old school still, because I feel the energy has to be with a pen or pencil on paper first before it goes on to out into the world on a computer. And I looked and thought, that isn't my book. It's 7 Principles of Universal Abundance, which is what the cards are based on. And I kind of just started writing them without any, the things that we do without thought when you haven't, yes, I know we have a plan and but the plan doesn't have to be this big business document. It can be sometimes, but it was just like, it just birthed without anything, without thought, and just started making them. And I think it was June that the first lot got published, and after a few bits backwards and forwards, but yeah, my abundance oracle cards.
Oh, they're fantastic. But I wanted to touch on as well the fact that you spoke there a little while ago about the working with the elements, and I know that when you did your reading with me, you brought in the elements into the reading with the cards. Do you want to just tell the listeners a little bit about that connection?
Yeah, so the elements that I'm talking about are earth, fire, air, and water, which is how we can when people talk about archetypes or any things like that, which is become quite popular, actually you can distill it down to the very core of our elements. So our soul has an element, emotional body, our physical body and mental body has an element. When they're all aligned, you get ether, which is spirit. Okay. So ether with an A-E, not ether with an E, it's the A-E-T-H-E-R, spirit. And that's when we are walking our divine path. That's enlightenment. That's where we're heading. And that's when actually we don't need the emotional body, mental body, and soul actually gets consumed into ether, into being spirit, because there's no need, because there's no separation at the moment. We live with that separation. So this brings in a level of, the cards, the 7 Principles of Universal Abundance are related to the elements and related to ether. But a lot of my work, so when I said earlier about when I launched my money program, each week was a different element, and I had no idea why. But then since that time, I've gone deeper and deeper into working with the elements, and that's partly why it's probably been in this kind of potent sleep state. It's because it's gathering this new teaching. So it opens up a kind of new consciousness about it all. But that's where my work is heading, very much about working with the elements, how you manifest with the elements, how when we've all experienced it, you think, I did exactly that last time and I manifested, and now it's not working.
Right.
And you can feel a bit like scratchy head thinking, what have I done wrong? And maybe that was luck, and we start to kind of feel diminished. But it's understanding actually what's going on with your elemental makeup. Where's the off balance, and which element within you, depending on your elemental configuration, is needing to be at the forefront of this, or needing to actually let the other one go, because they will battle as well. So that's where my work is heading.
Fantastic. And I know you're training some people to read those cards and to understand them, aren't you?
Yes, I certainly am. Yeah, I've got 2 groups. In fact, one group is 2/3 of the way, and one group just started last Wednesday.
Oh, fantastic. And are you taking more people on to train in it?
Again, at the moment, I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't know I was going to take the second group, and that just was like, yeah. I was like, okay, because I had believed, you know, and this is where it's like, oh, I had a plan, but my soul has a different plan. That I would like to do it as in a different way, because these are all taught virtually in Zoom in this way. But you know, I think the energy in 2020 is going to be so hugely different for us all. The last few years, since say even the 2012 thing that people were expecting this great big bang to go off, you know, energetically, this has all been a warm up to where we're going.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we ain't seen nothing yet. So I think what and where will be, you know, what and where will be asked, I'm open to. But yeah, I would hope I will. But yeah, I don't know.
And is it a thing, Sarupa, that you can actually pull a card for the audience listening or not?
Of course.
Okay,
and in fact, today
that
we're recording this is still full moon energy, so we're picking up on energy. But should we put one per? Let's just get a general. I'm not getting a specific, unless you've got a specific thing that you want to ask for the audience.
Nope.
No, it's actually, general. That's what I'm getting.
No, me, I'm not very good with my questions when it comes to cards.
You've been great so far. Right. So
when it comes to cards.
So people, actually, you said the same when we were doing the cards, didn't
That's
you?
what I mean. That's what I mean. I'm not very good with questions when it comes to cards.
And that's a lot of people say that. The fact is they're not wanting to ask a question because they just feel like they shouldn't and they mustn't, and it's there. It's always there. So this one that's come up, and I'm going to, hopefully you can see it, but it's number 10, choosing abundance. So it's part of the universal principles of abundance, and it's saying clear and clean your wallet, remove all that doesn't belong and make room for more money. So this actually, and now I know what this card, I was wondering if we were going to get a card for 2020, but this is definitely a card for 2019. And while I always say take the card literal, the energy behind it is saying clean up the crap.
Yeah. Because decluttering is so important.
But not just the physical cluttering. Clear up the thoughts, clear up the stuff that you're having an argument. This is the words I'm getting. The argument that you're having with yourself, that you haven't been enough, that you didn't do enough, you didn't achieve what you needed to achieve this year, and what you did achieve wasn't particularly brilliant, and all that kind of inner chat that we have. And it's saying clear all that up, because that is going to become baggage that you take with you. So for people reading this, and I know it's all, I've always used to think, well, how can it be for everybody? This is, and I'm taking this myself too, this is the collective message of clear. So definitely clear and clean your wallet. Remove all that doesn't belong in there. Receipts, receipts.
Same with your handbag or whatever.
But definitely your wallet, and I have a leather wallet, and when I give it a clean, it's just like, it's like new again. And it makes you feel happy when you take it out. If you notice when you have a tatty wallet, you feel embarrassed when you're paying for things. You kind of almost want to hide it, and you're looking at it in your handbag and things like that. So actually having a really nice wallet, because if it makes you feel good, you're going to want to fill it more, because you're going to want to see it more.
But it's also showing that the money, love.
Yeah, totally. One of the exercises from my money program that I'll share, can I share that with your readers?
Of course you can.
Is we talk about money as a friend, and I know now that's not such a kind of new thing, but back in 2011 it was. But I get people to do a Lonely Hearts ad.
Yeah.
So we've all seen them in the back of the paper. Some of them are a little bit too saucy. I'm not looking for a saucy ad or suggesting anybody does anything like that. But it's almost like you're writing an ad for yourself. So you'd be writing it as Allie for money to come. So you'd be saying, Allie lives in Ireland, GCOH, which is good sense of humour, looking for great nights out, great holidays, and wants to have lots of fun. So, and you know how small those little Lonely Heart columns ads are, but it's a bit of fun, but it's actually
suggesting we do that.
it's great to do that. I suggest that everybody does that, and that
like
you
fun.
pin on your board, notice board,
Yes.
and look at, and it plus it makes you smile. And but what's interesting about that is it takes people a really blooming long time to do, because it's the energy underneath it is about how good enough you feel, how deserving you feel, and how much you actually believe you can invite money. Because we can all say, but I know we manifest, I know abundance is real, but the reality is if it's not coming into your life, that's why those exercises just help me clarify when people are doing them. I mean, I'm always seeing the energy anyway, but it just, you realize without any doubt what's going on, because people can speak the speak, they can as they're kidding themselves, their job is to kid the people around them to say everything is going okay. And it's getting to the energy, not the words.
Exactly. Yeah. Doing the energetic work.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. That's a really nice card. And I love that idea of doing the column.
Yeah, the Lonely Hearts. It's such fun. It is such fun.
Yeah, I haven't heard that one before. So thank you for that. That's really good. Sarupa, I'd like to just touch on the fact that you write for Spirit and Destiny magazine, and that you've now just recently, written an article for Female First. And not only that, but it's going to lead on to the fact that you've been contacted by a major book publisher to submit a book proposal recently.
Yes, I'm meeting my book agent.
That is just so exciting. So exciting. Do you want to just talk to us a little bit about how, first of all, that your writings came about for Spirit and Destiny magazine a little bit, and how, now that you're writing for Female First, and where did this publisher come from? This, this major book publisher come from to approach
Twitter.
You?
They contacted me on Twitter. So it's, and we know how these things work, really. When it's a bit left field, you just know Spirit of moving things, universe is moving things. What comes out of it, we don't know. We just stay present to saying yes to things. But the dream for a long time was I wanted to be a journalist. I even started to do a journalist training course after my A-levels, because I, wanted to, I guess it was writing and journalism and all of that. But that wasn't the path for me to necessarily follow. But and then I had years of people saying, well, you're not a celebrity, you're not a spiritual celebrity guru, nobody's going to give you a column. And this is, at some point, for me, for a long time, I was like, yeah, whatever, I'm going to go for it. And then there's a point where they've just knocked me down so much, not the magazines, but the people that I paid as PR to help me and things like that, that you just give up. You literally give up. But I didn't give up in a way, because the light still carried on. But I did work with PR people in terms of getting PR pieces out there, like the Daily Telegraph piece, in the Financial Times of the Telegraph. I've been in the Sunday Times. I've quoted in papers, magazines, written articles for Spirit and Destiny before I became a columnist. Natural Health, lots of them over the years. Fate and Fortune. So you kind of almost have to do the rounds in the trenches, especially if you're not celebrity guru and blah 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 that people said. And then it was after the time the Telegraph article, Spirit and Destiny actually contacted me to say, can you give us a affirmation? And I thought, well, yeah. And I said, but I just wanted to wonder if you wanted to do an article on money or something. And the journalist came back to me and said, actually, we'd like to put you in as a rising star. So I said, all right, then do it. Which was a year ago in July. And then I said thank you to the journalist who'd put it in. And she was just like, oh, that's great, that you're saying thank you. And then I just asked, would you be up for this? And she said, yeah.
Wow.
It took a long time, but magazines take a long time to make decisions. And plus it was sort of July and there's summer, and so I think I actually did my first article for them 6 months after the conversation started, and that wasn't published for another 4 months after, you know, so it's almost like been a year from whatever. But yeah, it's
that's amazing though.
And that's the thing about, you know, we live in a world where we want if it's not instantly manifested, then that's wrong. I shouldn't have been doing it, I've made a mistake, the universe hates, you know, it's like some dreams.
Divine timing.
Yeah, there's divine timing, and there are things that we need to do I didn't obsess about it, but there are things that we need to achieve and be in the process. So again, you know, there were those personal growth bits that I'd hit. This also came after when I told you about that little thing from left field. I was a bit like, oh, where I realized I was judging myself because I was afraid I'd be judged if I succeeded. You know, if I was wealthy, people would judge me because I was going to judge myself anyway for not being spiritual enough. The magazine stuff came after that. It couldn't have come before. The column couldn't have come before, because then my writing would have been tarnished with that. That energy. And it might sound like, that sounds so silly, but it's true. We energetically have to be in a space. If there's something big that you want to achieve, that's been a lifelong dream, this was one of my life, as is having a book, then you've got to realize there's going to be a few good years of your life that you may well have to continue trusting that you're going for it, and do what you need to address in the meantime. We can't be a 2-year-old self, and I'm going to use an extreme example. I couldn't have been the 2-year-old or the 4-year-old me who was seeing spirit in her bedroom and wondering what they're talking about, and being that girl writing a column, or the girl with magic, you know, the 8-year-old with magic hands writing a column, because I had to understand what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And become who I was becoming.
Yeah. I totally get that, because, you know, I often say to people that they think that, you know, just because they want to manifest something, that it should come instantly, like what you just said. But sometimes our ego thinks we're ready for things before we're actually ready for things.
Yeah.
And so there are all these little things that have to be put in place energetically.
And actually, if it's not in your soul's plan, it doesn't matter what you want.
Yeah, that's true.
And most people spend their whole life battling what they want and never feeling like they achieved or got the satisfaction that they wanted, because I never stopped to say, well, maybe, perhaps I need to let that idea go too. You know, there's been lots of things that I've gone for and realized as I was getting close to my preparation towards it, thinking, actually, this is totally not what I want to do. This is totally not where I'm heading. And sometimes I've just thought, well, thanks, universe. And the universe and spirit said, well, we just leapt back and were wondering when you'd realise that you'd completely fallen down, you know, a box that wasn't yours to fall down, and now you're back so you can get back on path, you know. So it's all about learning as well. It's not about the mistakes, because there aren't any. But it becomes a mistake if you keep doing the same thing again and again and again and again, that keeps you in a loop that's stuck. Then I think you can call it a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. So have you got an idea for the book, or will it be money, or will it be something else?
It's money, yeah. Well, there's two that are sort of in the pipeline, but the first one will definitely be money. So that's going to be about the elements and money, and how you,
so exciting.
Yeah, and how you work with the elements within. And you know, and it's more than just saying, well, I'm a Leo, therefore I'm a fire sign. I'm not talking about astrology. You know, it's not about putting people into boxes of I'm this, I'm that. It's actually, we've got all 4 elements within us and we're talking about soul, mental body, emotional body, physical body, and spirit, you know, our higher self. So it's how you harmonize and balance the 4, and how you understand what's going on, you know, with our certain thoughts, certain outcomes, certain walls that we might be hitting. They're all clues. The way people will speak is a clue for elements and things like that. So that book is going to be about that. And the second one I'm working on, which is quite exciting is my memoir.
Oh.
Which seems like, just even saying it, you're like, oh, who are you? You're not a celebrity guru to be writing a memoir. I grew up in a, you know, growing up in a London, and kind of bridging the Western and Eastern spirituality, you know, like, for my mum, it was really strange that you're doing all this other spirituality, and you know, but I kind of bring in both worlds. But then I was in a really, you know, the UK has had this really interesting history with mediums and things like that, you know, that whole kind of Madame Arcati type of thing. So I'd be sat in circles like that, and I've had some really funny experiences. And I remember sitting in those kind of circles thinking, what's the point of this then? What's the point of calling up the dead, you know? It's just, where's that getting anyone? I used to teach angels, you know, how to connect to your guides and angels. And I used to afterwards think, these people, I might as well given them some kind of drug, magic mushrooms, because they all left on a high. And I thought, but how are you going to change your life? How are you going to change the world? So I've always been about marrying the practicality. We can all get high and feel the astral planes, but what's the point if then we come back down to earth with a great big thud? So it's just the funny musings of me in the memoir, but that might be a self-indulgence, but I'm loving it. So
that's very exciting, Sarupa. Absolutely exciting. I wish you all the best with both of those. They're going to be really, really good. I know they are, and juicy.
Totally.
So thank you so much for sharing with us today. Would you like to just tell the listeners what services you provide at the moment, anything you've got coming up, and where the best place to contact you is?
So you can, for the Abundance Oracle cards, you can just go to abundanceoraclecards.com. So the abundanceoraclecards.com if you want to get yourself a deck. And I do a monthly abundance forecast, and you know, there's lots of lovely things on the blog there. My other main bit is the soulagentblog.com. So even though the money program we've been talking about has gone, I've got a 40-day money healing journaling program, which is absolutely fabulous, that you know, that's ongoing. I mean, there's always lots of things. So I just say connect. You know, I'll put maybe in the comments of this on. Is it going to be on YouTube as well? This, if you want
to say what it is, and Paul can put it up on the YouTube link and underneath.
Yeah, I'll send you a couple of links. I'll send you a link to the Abundance Oracle cards and the 40-day money healing. I mean, I've got my 2020, also my members club, which I'm really excited about. It's the third year of my Spirit Money Business members club. It's gone through a few different names, but now it's Spirit Money Business. And I feel like I finally got it right. So there's a money meditation. It's not just going to be a money meditation anymore. It's going to be a meditation to work with each month. There's going to be, there's an accountability exercise around, you know, manifesting, going in deep, listen to your soul. There's going to be work with the cards. There's a group mentoring call every other month. So we've just got this place to get connected, so I'm really excited about that, so I'll send you a link to that as well. So yeah, and simply connect, search for me
on Facebook.
We can connect. I'm connected with Allie, so you'll find me on Allie stuff on your personal page and business page. If you search for me, I'm sure you'll find me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarupa. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here with us today and sharing your story and all of that. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I absolutely loved it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Absolute honor. And for now, we'll say goodbye to the listeners, and we will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.